Also home of the daffodil. Daffodahlia.
Something. We're not sure what it is yet, so that works.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Meet the Farmer, Meet the Gardeners. We are in Enumclaw, Washington, here with Kelsey at Cattle and Cut Flower Farm, also home of the new Daffodahlia, which we are going to get into. I am so excited to be here. I cannot wait to just tour your farm and talk to you and learn more about your story. I recently came across your profile on Instagram.
A lot of people have.
And we'll talk about her. You spoke with Martha Stewart, right?
So I didn't speak with Martha Stewart directly, but she somehow got wind of the Daffodahlia. Her team reached out and they wanted to know about it and do an interview and write an article. And so they did that. And then things really blew up. I had posted myself about what was kind of going on with the Daffodahlia, and it had already had a lot of just in the growing community, traction and views and stuff. But then when Martha Stewart shared it, then it really took off because other news outlets kind of caught on, and then it kept going and going and going.
Yeah, and I see it everywhere. I cannot turn on social media without seeing it somewhere or somebody sharing the article.
It's gone through our town. We have a rather small, I mean, it's not terribly small, but a smaller-ish town. And my son's principal stopped me at drop-off, and he was like, "You're Oscar's mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh gosh, what did he do?" And he's like, "You're famous."
Yeah,
and I was
you are.
Oh my gosh,
you totally are. You totally are. So we're gonna get into that too. So I cannot wait to talk more about your discovery. It's incredible. But first, we are going to walk around the farm. I really want to learn more about how you got started and your flowers. And she's not only a farmer, but she's also a photographer, and you guys raise cattle, and we're going to dive into all of that. So I'm going to get behind the camera, and then we are just going to walk the farm and chat and have a good old time. Okay, so Kelsey, how did you get started with farming? Where did this passion come from? How long have you been doing this? So where did it begin?
We bought our farm in 2017. It was a foreclosure that had been let go for years. And so our kind of start into farming was renovating a house and fixing up a property, which we're kind of still doing all that stuff to a certain degree. But we wanted to farm to kind of be more self-sufficient at home. So our farming started with raising livestock. So kind of as soon as we got into the farm, we got cows, and now we have chickens, ducks, pigs, goats, a horse, a donkey, so we kind of have a gamut of all the animals. So that's always been our main focus, is the animals. I went to school to be a vet technician, and so that's kind of my background, has always been animals. So that was the focus. And then I started selling our extra chicken eggs, and I kind of just had this thought of I could add bouquets. And then when people get their eggs, they could add on a bouquet, help pay for chicken feed, that kind of thing. And I did, one year I put some dahlias in, and then it just went. So I got really bit by the dahlia bug. That's always been our focus. That's kind of always been my main love. I've grown a bunch of different other flowers just to kind of have stuff and see what I like, but dahlias have always been our main focus. We started with, I was gifted 30 dahlia tubers, and then we've grown over 4,000 now a year. So we just kind of every year expanded and did more and did more and did more. And so that's always been our focus with the farm as far as the flowers goes, was kind of dahlias. And then I do wedding floral. So I did start growing other annual crops to, be able to fill my own wedding orders. So that was kind of what we've done with the flowers. And we've tried a little bit of everything. I've done CSA bouquets. I've done where people pick up at the farm stand. I've worked with other local businesses to do workshops and different things with the flowers. We've done U-cut. So we've tried a little bit of everything. And then it's always been kind of in the back of my mind and on my heart is that I mostly want to be a dahlia farm. And I've really been trying to kind of cut out some of the other fluff and just go into being kind of a bulb and a tuber farm. And that's really where my heart is at. And so with the Daffodahlia thing, it feels like the kind of kick I needed to finally make that call. It's kind of scary to just go into one niche. So I think it's time.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
You grow such a beautiful variety of flowers, but when you talk about getting into the wedding industry, did you see a shift in the way or like the flowers that you grow? Are you very specific about like your color palette? Or do you grow for the masses, or do you more so tailor to like the wedding industry?
I tailor more to kind of the wedding industry, what's trending, what I use a lot of, what brides are showing me inspiration pictures of. I really encourage people to book in the fall so that I can plan ahead. You know, if I know what you want for the next year, I can buy that seed. I can make sure I have that tuber. I can, do that. So I've really encouraged people to, book early so that I can get kind of things planned out to grow. But that is why we started growing the bridal tunnel.
Right.
So everybody always asks me, like, why do you have this bridal tunnel? And that's why. We put the high tunnel in so that I could plant my dahlias early, because I have brides starting in June want dahlias, and they're just not really going yet then. And so we invested in the high tunnel and started planting that with all white and blush, which I call my bridal dahlias, the ones that I use the most of. So that's how the bridal tunnel started. And then we started saving seed from that, and people just went bananas about the seed because there's such like premium blooms in there that the genetics are getting passed on to the seed. So people were so excited, and some of the seeds that we've seen come out of there are just amazing. And so that's kind of how the bridal tunnel started, and then that's where the Daffodahlia
was born
and
discovered. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk more about that. So I know we were just talking about this. Well, first of all, the fact that you were gifted 30 dahlia tubers, whoever gave that to you, what a great friend, because
she grew them for her wedding, and she left them in the ground for like 3 or 4 years, and the clumps were like huge, and she didn't have anywhere to put them in her yard anymore, and so we didn't know what we were doing, and we just like hacked them up and like, we think that's 30 clumps, and like threw them in the ground. Like we didn't really know what we were doing. So that was like funny, kind of just how it started.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love stories like that, because when we talk about, how people got into dahlias, a lot of them, it's just like they got bit by the bug that first year, and then it's like, okay, game over. This is what I want to grow. And they're beautiful. You guys recently got hit by a little bit of frost.
Yes.
And so your plant, the foliage is starting to turn brown.
Looks a little sad.
It's a little sad, but the blooms still look very beautiful. Well, and you're letting them go, right? So you can collect seeds.
Yeah, so our seed sale is actually this coming weekend. And I plan to, we have a bunch of seed already saved, and we've been packaging we've been doing all this stuff. But with how our weather's looking, we got this little frost, and it zapped the plants a little bit where they were unhappy. But they are alive, and they are still growing. And then the day after the frost, we got this really heavy rain, which has actually made it where the petals are just dropping and coming off faster. And the blooms are setting seed quicker. So although they don't look amazing, this is actually ideal for us right now to get more seed pods.
Okay.
So then we'll have more seed to share with everybody.
Sure.
So we're going to do the field seed and then the bridal tunnel seed. They're like two separate listings for people, so you know what you're getting. So the field seed out here will be a mix of color, and it'll be kind of more exciting. And then what you can expect out of the bridal tunnel is going to be more of those white blush kind of genetics.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. And I'm really excited for that seed sale. I know it's going to probably be bananas.
Yeah.
So congratulations ahead of time.
I'm slightly worried. I've seen like where people's websites crash before, and just the amount of people that have been on the website, I'm just kind of worried about that kind of stuff, because I am not like a techie person. And so, but I've luckily had my friend Erica, she's been like amazing and helping me in fixing all these problems, because I set the website up.
Yeah,
so.
That's always good to
like,
back up.
What are you doing with
this? we all need to remind ourselves to be graceful, because sometimes technology, it takes a little bit of time to adjust and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, when you started to grow dahlias, was that the same time, or flowers, was that the same time that you also picked up photography? Because I've seen your pictures and they're stunning.
Thank you.
So do you do that together? Does it kind of...
No, so for doing photography started with taking pictures of our animals.
Oh, okay.
So like when we got the cows and we had the highlands, they're just like such cool looking animals, I was kind of taking pictures of them and kind of documenting like our farm, like as we got different animals and just what we were doing here. And that was how it started.
Okay.
And then when we got the highlands, I started having people ask me if they could print them out or like wanted to buy a copy of the photo to make canvases. And so then when people were asking to buy canvas prints, I was like, I have to get a better camera. I got to get more legit at doing this if I'm going to have people do that. So that was how the photography thing started. So I took pictures of our animals for years, and then people just kind of would buy canvas prints and stuff.
Okay.
And then I started having people ask if I would take their family photos like at the farm.
Okay.
And so then I started doing that, and then it just kind of rolled from there. And I really do enjoy like taking photos, and I enjoy meeting the families that like are excited about our farm, because you're actually going to spend time and talk to them.
Right.
Versus like if somebody just ordered a bouquet and they're picking it up at the farm stand, I don't get to talk to them. So yeah, that's kind of how the photo thing started.
Yeah, I was so floored by some of your pictures. I was like,
you.
wow, this girl is just, she's doing it all. And it's like they all kind of go together. That's why I wondered like, okay, was this the master plan the whole time? But
no, it's just been kind of trying different things to see like what worked at the farm and what we enjoyed. You know, we've done that with kind of animals. Like we've had certain animals that were like, we didn't really like raising those and we don't do it anymore. You know, so it's just kind of trial and error on different things.
Sure. That's really cool. I love that you just kind of fell into this, and now it's turning into this whole world of just so much excitement right now. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah, it's been a little wild, like with everything going on with the Daffodahlia and
So tell me more about how, like, what your philosophy is when it comes to growing. You had mentioned how you just kind of like to grow things wild, which really speaks to me, because I am the same way.
Walking through my jungle,
But I love this because this is so relatable, I think. Because a lot of us don't have a ton of space, but you do, but you still like to grow densely, which is, I don't know, it makes me excited because it's just different than what you might typically see with some other farmers. But
I would say I don't really like, I feel like in some of my trial and error learning and stuff, it is, I don't do everything kind of by the book. There's probably, I know that there's things that I do that especially people who are real like Dahlia people would think I'm crazy. But it works for me, and I try to make flower farming, use the mentality of work smarter, not harder, because you can run yourself into the ground doing this. And so I've just, like you were kind of saying, like, I kind of like this like jungle-y just kind of thing. Like I eventually want to have it where like our whole property, when we have enough time and energy, get it landscaped and everything, where it's like you drive up and you're like, what is this? Like some kind of like cottage witch house, where there's just like all this wild stuff growing and just herbs and like I like that kind of feel. And so that's what I do in the field, and I only stake my dahlias if I have to.
Okay.
And this year I didn't end up staking any of them.
So that's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, how are they staying up like this? Do you plant them really close, or
I plant 12 inches apart, and then I let them I just let them go. And there's areas that like I probably should have staked and like corralled these in. But I don't really care. Like, we only did one U-cut this year, and they weren't this bushy and crazy. And so I'm like, I'm not having a bunch of people walking through the field. They don't need to have perfect rows. I can get through. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so I don't stake them. I hate dealing with all the veiling twine after they die.
Yeah.
It's just a mess, and it's just more stuff. Like there's so much stuff in farming.
Yeah.
And so I try to eliminate the stuff, if that makes sense. Like I hate storing all, I hate getting rid of, I hate cleaning up all that. So if I don't have to deal with baling twine on 50 whatever rows of dahlias we have, I'm not going to.
And I love that though, because you're honest about it. And I think you're saying a lot of things that people might be hesitant to say. Yeah. Because you always want to come off, it's like, I do it this way and this way, and this is the only way to do it. But what I'm learning through meeting so many great farmers is everybody has their own system that works for them. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like this way or the highway, because again, everybody's life and needs and desires are different.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there, and there's some amazing information out there that people have wrote and taken all this time, and I think you should use all that stuff as a guide.
Right.
use that stuff as a guide and then do it and what works for you.
Sure.
If that didn't work or you didn't like dealing with that, find another way around it, you know?
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I've done with just different things. And, you know, another kind of cardinal sin that a lot of people would say is overhead watering. You cannot pay me to put drip irrigation in this whole field.
Yeah. And I don't really see powdery mildew. Honestly, I don't. Like, do you just not have it out here, or?
It can happen, but I've figured out how to water and it not be a thing. So we have the pasture. You could probably see it over there, maybe. I don't know if you can see it. We have the pasture overhead water sprayers. They go on a T-post, and I water really heavy for an hour or two, and then I do not water them for 3 or 4 days.
Really?
So I treat them like they're from Mexico in the mountains, and I treat them like how they would be like a desert plant.
Sure.
You get a drench of rain, and then you dry out, and a drench of rain and you dry out. So that's what I do, and it works for me. And there's people that would say I'm crazy, but it doesn't damage the blooms. I do wedding floral, so you know how good they have to look. Yeah, I know what the standard is for them to look, and the overhead watering, I've had no issue with it. But that's what works for me. And there's probably people that they've done that and it didn't work for them. You know?
Yeah. I love that. It's kind of like survival of the fittest out here.
It is.
And look at them; they all want to survive.
Yeah, I mean, some of them. I'm 5'11", so I mean, some of them are 6, 7 feet tall at this point.
Yeah, this is so wild. Yeah. Which one is this again?
Ginger Snap.
That is so
it's
pretty.
A fun one. It's a good tried and true dahlia. That's kind of what I focus on, is like the tried and true ones that are going to grow 50 feet tall. They're going to give you lots of blooms. You're going to have easy tubers to deal with. Yeah. So that's what a lot of our field is.
Nice. And what about, so what's your soil like? Do you have clay here, or is it pretty?
Our soil is pretty good. So that's part of where I have a big advantage. Our property has been a livestock property for as long as it's been in existence. We used to run cattle in this pasture. Okay. And so our soil has had manure for 70 years. We know that long.
Oh, wow.
Just being in the soil and just in and in and in. So our soil is, I mean, like knock on wood. Knock on wood. Saying this and make sure I'm gonna have a problem. But our soil here is really, really great, and so that is a huge advantage that I've had with being able to grow plants this tall and you know, not have to do a ton of amending and all that kind of stuff.
So do you even fertilize at the beginning, or do you just put them right in?
I'll give them a little bit of fertilizer kind of in the beginning. I usually only use a fish emulsion. I don't get real crazy with nitrogen or anything like that. I'll give them fish emulsion when they're first kind of like going, just to kind of give them a little kick in the pants. But then I stop doing that. So I usually maybe fertilize twice. At the beginning of, you know, every couple of weeks at the beginning of the season, and then I'll, you know, stop. Once they get going like this, they don't need it. So.
They don't need too much, right? No. That's true. I feel like sometimes I'm heavy-handed because I'll fertilize maybe more frequently, but I don't think I really need to. But sometimes I just get excited about fertilizing them.
I think it kind of depends on how many plants you have too. True. Like if you only have like a small amount of plants, you're really excited and you really want to get a lot of blooms from those. Yeah. But then when I get like this, I can't cut all these.
Right. Yeah. You're never going to get to all of these
so
anyway.
I'm like, they don't need to get all crazy.
And that is a big, I love that you call that out, because I think like a lot of farmers, they don't worry about a lot of pests, a little bit of powdery mildew, because there's so much abundance where like home gardeners, we panic. We're like,
oh, my one flower.
Cucumber beetles. What do we do? You know, like
those are the arch nemesis.
Yeah, they are the arch nemesis. And unfortunately, I just manually pick them off because I don't like to spray a lot of things in our garden. Now, as far as digging and storing, what's your method for that? Do you like to store in vermiculi, or because you're untraditional, so I want to know.
This is the other cringe thing that a lot of Dahlia people are going to be like, she's canceled.
Oh, never.
I have left them in the ground every year.
Really?
And I'll start digging them in the winter when I want to wake them up to take cuttings.
Really? And so you sell tubers though, right? So is that when you start digging them up?
Yeah, when we start getting closer to the sale, I'll start digging them up and dividing them. Yeah. And then like we'd store them in the garage, but now we this last year we built a walk-in cooler. Like we have like a big walk-in cooler in our barn now, so they'll go in there in crates, and we'll just have them all organized in there and whatnot. So but in the past I have left them in the ground. And I know it's like a cardinal sin for some to do that, but it has worked. Yeah. Again, going back to our good soil, our property drains really well.
Jealous.
It is slightly sloped this way all the way because the foothills, like the mountains, were like, we're going uphill in elevation, so it all is slightly sloped. And I know that it's slightly sloped because our creek on our property has flooded our house and property twice.
Okay.
And there's literally been a river going through the dahlias twice, and they survived.
They survived
Floods.
Again, survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. If you are not strong, you are not going to be here.
You're not going to make the cut.
No.
You're not going to make the cut.
Yeah.
Now, can we talk a little bit? I know I could just ask you questions all day, especially because you have this untraditional approach that works, and I think is so refreshing to hear that it's okay to go outside the lines.
Yeah.
You also grow other cut flowers, but your main thing are the dahlias. Can we talk about the Daffodahlia?
Yeah.
And like,
do you want to go in the tunnel?
Yeah, let's go in the tunnel. So this is your bridal tunnel.
Yeah, so this is the tunnel. So we put the tunnel in here to get these guys early. So this is, all kind of like the blushy white stuff, because that's what I use most. That's what most brides, there's, pretty much any color palette, they're good with white or blush, and then they'll want another color added to it. Those are the Irish deporters over there. Those are all the ones I use for like boutonnieres.
Oh, really?
I love like the little pom-poms for boutonnieres. They're like the cutest thing on the planet. So
I know, they're so cute.
Yeah, so this is this is how it all started, was to just have these earlier and keep them extended. So you can see like the foliage look fine because I had this all closed that night that we got the frost. So that was kind of the thing, was to extend it on both ends of the season to get dahlias earlier and hopefully keep them later if we did have like a little frost. I don't generally book too many weddings like into October and guarantee brides dahlias, because you never know. I mean, we got like a frost, it was like the beginning of October, and then we've had it years where we had dahlias until almost Halloween. So it's a big swing. You never really know.
You never know. Are you guys in zone 8B up here? Okay, us too. And one year, I think it was not last year, but the year before, we had them like November 15th. We still had dahlias.
Crazy.
Like a dream. Like, can we have that every year? Yeah. Like I'm jealous of our California friends, because it's like, you don't even really get a true
I get burnt
far.
out though. I'm like, all right, I'm tired of you guys.
I would.
Where's the head trimmer?
But that I think that's also the exciting thing, right?
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I don't know about you. Well, it's probably different because you get to do this full time, but I get so upset at the end of the season that they're gone, and like I have a little moment of like, oh, like it's over. But then you get to like see what's under the soil, and then it's exciting again.
I get excited to like go inside and start planning. Like I really like kind of the approach of Mother Nature that you like hibernate during the winter. So like that's like I like to go in and I'm drinking my coffee and planning, and I'm doing all that kind of stuff. Sure. The winter's the hibernation time. But so we've been letting this stuff go to seed. We've already collected and dried and packaged a bunch of seed for the sale. But then there's going to be like another huge round. I mean, you can see all the pods that are coming. They're just not quite ready yet. Sure. But I've been keeping this tunnel closed to dry this stuff out and keep it hot. So I've actually been coming in here and like pulling the petals.
So you pull them. So I just did a video on the saving dahlia seeds.
Yeah.
Do you find that, do you always like to harvest them when they're completely dry on the plant, or do you take them out a little bit early? I take them
a little bit early out of this tunnel, because sometimes this tunnel can be kind of humid. It causes the outer petals to rot, and so it'll affect the seeds that way. So I've been just kind of taking the petals off, and as they close and get hard, I've been taking them early to save them. Okay. Because I was dealing with a little bit of rot like early on, because it's humid in this plastic in this tunnel. So I've just kind of been going through, and there's been lots of bees in here, and as they start looking like they're opening up, I've just been taking the back petals off of them so that they don't do the rotting thing.
Okay. I love that you do that. I have to go now. I want to go home and do that to all of them.
Yeah. It's helpful too if you know you're going to get like rains, because like obviously not everybody has their dahlias under cover, so these guys don't get rained on.
That's nice.
So if you have them out in the rain and you know rain's coming, and you can kind of get those petals off and get the seed pod going, and then remove like when they're in this stage but just need to dry out, like because that one still has like water in it, but you could take that off, put that in a vase with some water, and then let it finish inside. It's already been pollinated and it's good to go,
ready to go. Now talk me through your discovery, the Daffodahlia. That is just seriously, it's taking the flower industry by storm. It happened in here, right?
It happened in here.
Cool.
I've been asked a million times what variety it was on, and I'm not going to tell what variety it is yet. I don't want to release what variety it is because I think people are going to get obsessive about trying to get that variety. Yeah. It's one that's been around forever and it does not need to like have a hysteria around it.
And then it's going to be hard to find and nobody's going to be able to get it.
And people are going to be selling it for $70 because maybe it'll turn into a Daffodahlia. And the reality is that's probably not going to happen. Sure. We don't even know if it's going to come back here on the plants that did it. Right. And so basically what happened is I came in here one day. These had all been blooming since early July. I'd been cutting them for weddings. I was coming in to harvest a bucket and I went down the row and I looked at the flower and I was like, what is wrong with this flower? Like that is not supposed to look like that. And I kind of just left and came back in and I was looking at it and I'm like, this isn't right. Like, this is so weird. Why does it look like that? And then I was kind of checking and I was like, oh, there's like more than one of them. And so I just kind of kept it to myself for a few days because honestly, my first initial thing was there was something wrong with the plant and it was going to spread through this whole tunnel. And then my soil in here was going to be ruined. All of my dahlia tubers in here were going to be ruined. The plants were going to start like molding or some weird thing. You know? And so I did not think it was a good thing at first. I kept it to myself for several days. And then a couple of my friends that I've been friends with and are dahlia growers for years, I sent them a picture of it. We have like a little chat and I was like, look at this that popped up in the tunnel. And they both were just like, what in the world is that? And I go, you know, I wasn't really going to share anything. And I go, I think I'm just going to post it on social media and then go to bed. And like, I'm just not going to respond to anybody. Or and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so weird. And so that's what I did. And I woke up in the morning and there was just like a flood of like, what is this? You know, and people were just going crazy. Yeah. And so it was just in here. And it was nothing that I did. I did not hybridize it. It was not from a seedling. It was grown from a tuber of a variety that I have had for years. Okay. So that was my next question. You weren't trying to discover this. You weren't like doing some voodoo magic in here and it just there's happened. No daffodils anywhere near. There's no I am reporting they can't even cross like I was not doing some kind of weird lab genetics with the flower. No. I know because that was one of the things that people thought like it was always genetic. No, it's not. And I think this is what I love about dahlias so much is because they're so genetically diverse that these things can happen. And even if it didn't come back next year, like how incredible that we all got to see it. Yeah, it was like super cool. And like for us, there's 35 of that variety planted in here. Okay. And 6 of the 35 plants were doing it. Whoa. So I've spoken to one other dahlia grower where I actually saw photos and spoke to the grower. I've seen, or people have told me that like people on dahlia pages and stuff are saying, oh, I had that happen, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I have only myself talked to one grower that actually like had photos to produce and was legit. Yeah. And she had it happen on one plant for one season and then it did not return. Okay. So I'm not like overly like it's coming back, it's happening. I am trying to almost be pessimistic about it so that I don't get my hopes up. Yeah. I have 24 rooted cuttings in my grow room and that are in there growing. So I pulled the tissue off of the plant itself, off the plants themselves that were doing it. And then I saved the seeds off of all the blooms that made them. Okay. And then we're going to save all the tubers and we're going to plant them out and do some experimenting with them. Okay. And so what happens now? Are you getting them genetically checked? Like what is the next step? So I consulted with the WSU plant pathology department. Okay. And they came back with there are no known diseases that would cause a dahlia to do that. And to find out if there's a disease that would do that, there's this whole kind of like genetic whole testing thing that they could do, which is new science. And the researchers don't even know that. She said it's like so much information. They don't even know how to translate all of it yet.
Right.
And it's very costly.
Right.
And all these things. So I've had a lot of opinions about what I should be doing. We tested for the normal common viruses that you would test for in-house. And I feel comfortable growing the plants in my field, that I'm not spreading some weird, crazy disease that's going to ruin our stock.
Sure.
And then if it comes back, we'll go down the avenue of doing more testing. But just for our farm and our family, we weren't really willing to take the financial risk for something that could possibly never be seen again. And if it wouldn't have happened on those plants, we would have never even tested the plants for the viruses that we did, because they're showing no sign of disease at all whatsoever.
Right.
So we're going to monitor them when we pull the clumps up. If there's something funky, you know, like we're checking, we're doing all the things. I feel comfortable with growing it. You know, I've had a lot of people have opinions about what I should be doing with them as far as disease and virus. And I've just kind of started telling people they're not growing in your field and you don't need to worry about it.
And
I'm not sending it out into the world. I'm not being irresponsible.
Exactly.
And if we ever do send it out into the world, it will have gone through
its proper channels
testing that it needs to go through. So I don't think there needs to be like a panic. I had some people that were very opinionated about what I needed to do and that kind of stuff. And I just kind of, you know.
And that's so hard because it's like, you want to celebrate this moment and get excited about it. And it's so quick to just think this is a bad thing, but we don't even know what it is yet. Like it's still such a mystery.
Yeah.
And you've obviously taken all of the proper steps that you feel comfortable that need to be done right now. And then, you know, keeping my fingers crossed that it comes back next year, because it's really cool.
If it could come back, it would be amazing, you know, and then we'll kind of figure out those steps. You know, like I've had a lot of people reach out to want to get like involved.
Sure.
And we're just keeping everything in-house right now.
Yeah.
You know, like there was growers and bulb companies and all these people that kind of came out of the woodwork. You know, and I had like bigger, you know, some growers like reach out that, you know, they wanted to store it over the winter for me. Just going to keep it here at home, you know, like,
sure.
And, you know, we have people that have grown dahlias for years in our corner, and, you know, if it comes back, there's some big decisions to be made on what its future is. But, you know, we have 10 acres here.
Right.
I'll sell a few cows and till up a whole nother pasture if we need to, you know, multiply the thing and go camp. Like, you know, like.
I'll come and help. I'll come help plant.
Yeah, right? Like, we'll team up and like, we'll make it happen. So there's a lot of things. And, you know, there's been bulb companies that reached out already where if it did need to go to be mass produced, like maybe we can figure something out. So there's a lot of unknowns, but first we got to figure out if it even comes back. And the hard thing is like everybody wants an answer now.
I know. And you can't.
You got to do another growing season.
Yeah, this is Mother Nature. You can't do artificial things. And I mean, I guess you could, but you have to wait. Yeah. There's a waiting period. And if you want to stay connected, the best way to do it is probably through your social media and your newsletters. That's where you keep people informed.
Yep.
So I will make sure to link all of her details down below. Now, if none of this happened, say you walked in here and you never saw the Daffodahlia, it never happened. Was there anything you were looking for? Were you into breeding, or is that wasn't on your radar?
Really been into breeding dahlias.
Okay.
Partly because I do wedding floral and I need to know what the flower looks like.
Okay.
So I haven't really been interested in hybridizing because like my main focus has been filling my own wedding orders.
Sure.
So it hadn't really been my focus, but we have very highly considered moving more towards just being like a dahlia tuber farm. You know, we've got little kids, the summers go by way too fast, and it's like maybe we need to like change what we're doing a little bit. We're like, I'm not doing weddings every weekend and we don't have CSA bouquets to make every night, you know, like it just a lot adds up and like the summers go by really fast. And so we had already been considering sort of rolling back and doing more just like bulb and tuber sale stuff.
Sure.
And as far as like hybridizing goes, I kind of felt a little more on board with doing some of that because some of the seedlings that came out of these last year are so good.
Right.
And so I was like, maybe I should get more into doing that. So I kind of had already been on it. And I mentioned earlier, I really felt like this was sort of like the kick in the pants. I needed to like go in that direction. Like this is like the universe telling me like, that's where you need to go.
Oh yeah.
And so even if the Daffodahlia doesn't come back, I think that's, you know, where we're going to kind of move. and I want to just be kind of known as like a quality place that people can get good seed and like tubers from.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, we kind of focus on the tried and true dahlias. You're going to find the stuff that's like, they're going to make your garden. They're going to grow every year. They're going to be good blooms. They're, you know, good tuber producers. And that's kind of what I think our focus will be in the future. And then doing some hybridizing of whether it's the Daffodahlia or just stuff that's coming out of here.
Right.
And specializing and hybridizing specifically wedding floral or event floral type flowers is where I think I'm going to go with it.
I love that. And I see, so when you grow out your seedlings, are you only growing them in here, or do you actually put them out on your field? Or do you transition them like?
I didn't grow any of my own seedlings.
Oh, it's okay. So this will technically.
I sold, like last year we let this go to seed. I sold all the seed out of here to other growers because I was like, I'm not going to take the space in the field for seedlings that I don't know what they are.
Got it. Okay.
So I in the past, I've sold all of the seed. I haven't kept any of it for myself. But then people have tagged me and sent me photos of the seedlings that they've gotten. And then some of the people I know in person, and I've been in their gardens and seen them. And there's a couple of them that are like really, really
You're
good.
their mother.
Yeah.
You're the mom.
I'm the mom over here. Yeah. No. So there just is kind of exciting to see like what came out of here and know that like, okay, there's some really cool things that could, you know, if I put some effort into this, like enter the dahlia world, that people would really enjoy. So I
think for me, I would even be excited just to see, you know, even if the ones that you're not going to keep, I know it can be very cutthroat with farmers, like what you guys decide to keep and what you don't. Yeah. But just seeing this, I don't think you have any singles or open-centered ones in here, right? Or
no, so here's another thing I'm going to probably get like a little hate from the dahlia community. I do not grow any singles. I do not grow any anemones, and I do not grow any collarettes.
Okay.
I don't know anything.
And is that because you don't like them, or because they just don't serve a purpose in terms of wedding and stuff like that?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, like they're not my favorites, like personally, but then also they don't have great vase life. They drop petals faster. When you're doing event work, you need stuff to last. And then it like too, like with my CSA, I'm never going to put a single in a CSA bouquet. It's going to be dropping on their table the next day after they get it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't also grow dinner plates. So I grow the ones that are going to be like the hardy, they last.
Tried and true.
Yep. That's what I grow.
You're very methodical with what you grow.
Yeah.
Which I love, because if you do want to enter that world, then you can't grow. I mean, I don't really see a ton of like crazy colors in your fields. They're like very soft and muted. You do have some dark colors, but there's definitely like a beautiful warm color palette that you stick to.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to share some pictures with you guys of her discovery, because it is unreal. And now, as far as the future goes, like if the Daffodahlia doesn't come true or come back, where do you see your farm growing? You said that you want to just focus more on tubers.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any big changes in the dahlia world that you want to be a part of, other than breeding? Or like, what are next steps for you?
Kind of like I mentioned, I just want to be like a good, reliable place where people can get dahlia tubers from, that there doesn't have to be a stress behind it. I want to provide a calm experience, like a fun experience. I want gardening to be fun for people. Everybody's included. Everybody gets some, you know, like that kind of vibe. Sure. And I don't want to sit at a computer sweating because I need to get on a, you know, like I just want to be able to, you know, have it more accessible for everybody and that everybody enjoy it and that kind of thing. And so we already have plans to take up more of our field, reorganize some things, and put more dahlias in.
I mean, it seems like you've been signaled a couple of times, like maybe this is what you should be doing. Yeah. And now the universe is pointing you to become, you know, maybe that next grower that does provide that calm experience, because it is stressful. Like as somebody, as a consumer, I get very stressed out.
Literally sweating at my computer. Why is my heart rate like through the roof right now?
Exactly. I wake up early. I have so many alarms, and I have like at least 2 other people on a computer, and it's like, and I get it, because there's certain, you know, there's certain varieties that people really, really want and get excited about. Yeah. But I also think we have to like start teaching ourselves as consumers that if you don't get it, it's okay.
Your garden's going to be beautiful. And
regardless, you do it next year. You can try again.
And there's something out there that is similar.
Exactly.
There's something out there that's similar.
Exactly.
And a couple years from now, like I remember when apple blossom.
Oh my
gosh, people were losing their minds about that flower. Apple blossom who?
Yeah.
Where is she growing today? I want to know. Did she go extinct? You know, like
who has her?
nobody talks about that flower anymore.
Yeah.
Like I know she's growing and people have it, but it was like the it flower, and and that passes. And if you just let those kind of crazes like pass a little bit, like you can have such a beautiful garden in the meantime.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't, I don't want people to feel like it's a make or break if I don't have this new best thing.
Sure. We get excited about it, and then everybody gets kind of angry because they can't get it.
Yeah.
And, you know, growers aren't supplying or fulfilling the demand, but there's only so much you guys can do.
Yeah.
You know? So,
I mean, it takes years to get a stock to be where like everybody can have it, you know, like it takes years and years, and not to take anything away from like people that are, you know, creating new, like that's so much work and they work very hard, but it's just, I don't enjoy that experience. And so I want to give my customers and people that are supporting our farm the experience that I would want to have.
Yeah, I love that.
know?
That's so refreshing to hear. And I think this is why not only are your flowers going to make a big impact in the cut flower world, but just your whole attitude about flowers is just like, oh wow, a breath of fresh air. We love that.
Stressful. Let's enjoy them.
Yeah, let's enjoy the flowers. We're flower people. We're cool.
Totally.
Like, it doesn't have to be stressful. It's gonna be okay.
Yep.
So not only does Kelsey and her husband have, again, the flowers, the photography, the weddings, but this is their farm, and these are their beautiful animals. And if you remember, we were at Marin Mathis farm, and one of her cows, Haggy,
Two of them. Yeah.
April, right?
April and Haggy,
came from them.
So that's Haggy's mom and dad right there.
Wow.
And then that's April's dad, and her mom is over there, the black
Back
one.
there.
Yeah.
And so these are both Highland, and what is this one here?
This is Daisy. We used to raise Herefords before we had the Highlands. And Daisy was part of our Hereford herd, and she's just a really good mom, and we just really like her, and so we kept her on, and she had twins for us last year.
And wait, what kind of cow is this?
She's like a Red Angus Hereford mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys raise these as pets? Hi.
We raise our own meat. So we raise our own beef and our own pork.
Oh, nice.
And then we keep one cow a year for ourselves, and then we sell the other ones live to other farms.
Wow.
Yeah.
My gosh, she is so pretty.
Yeah, she's a big
She's
girl.
beautiful. And look at, so I want to buy a farm, and I want to come back and buy one of your
Highlands. Yep, yeah.
Hi.
Annabelle, she doesn't like her head being touched, but you can pet her kind of belly.
Her belly? Hi.
Yeah, she's my good poser girl. She's a good for pictures. She's 11, so she's got like a really good, nice set of horns.
Yeah.
And then her and her companion, our bull's mom, were the two original ones that we bought. And we bought them from a guy that was part of the Highland Society for 15 years, and he really liked to kind of nerd out on the genetics of them. It's kind of like dahlias. They have a whole genetic system of what colors they can throw in calves and all that kind of stuff. So we found out actually with Haggy that our bull can throw white calves. It's the first time he'd ever had a white one.
Really? Okay. And he's beautiful.
Yes, he's beautiful. And he's so sweet. He's like the nicest cow. That's what.
That's what everybody keeps saying. He's just like a big baby.
He was. When he was here, he would just like want to go over to people. He was like little kids. He like loved. He was so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we know like Annabelle and like our bull, they have really good genetics from that first original guy. He like AI'd all of his cows to have this certain bull and female. You know, like it was this big thing. So it's kind of similar to dahlias, where there's all this genetic stuff. So that was kind of where we started, was like Highland genetics and nerding out on that, and then now we're moving into dahlias.
Okay, I was like, do you see yourself continue with like the animal side too?
Oh yeah, we'll always do animals. I'd stop doing flowers before I did animals.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, because you wanted to become a vet tech. That's what you were going to school for and everything.
Yeah.
And now you get to do that on your own farm. Yeah. How great is that? Like,
pretty much. I never worked in the field. I went to school for it, never worked in the field, and then now we just kind of have it at home.
And then is this a donkey over here?
Yeah, so we just got, this is Walter. My son, he wanted to kind of start doing more stuff with like horses and whatever. And my horse is kind of big and intimidating. And so we ended up getting him a donkey. So he can kind of start learning. Walt is 10 months old. And so he's just a little guy. He's kind of fitting in and figuring it all out. So we've been doing some halter training and stuff with him. And
and how big will he get?
He's a standard sized donkey. So, you know, he'll get standard size, like a small kind of horse. Comanche, my horse now, he's really big. He's a rescue, and he's 25. But really good shape for 25. He's like overweight, which is usually the opposite problem what old horses have. So yeah, he's just kind of easygoing guy. Just wants to hang out. He grew up on like a ranch in Ellensburg. And so he's used to being with cows and likes being with cows. And if I take him out of being with the cows, he gets very mad about it.
And is this the only horse you guys have, or do you have another?
Right now this is the only one we have. We've had more in the past, but right now we have him, and so him and Walt are going to kind of be companions. And
does he make those loud donkey noises?
You come out in the morning and you hee-haw, hee-haw.
I love those so much.
It's every time I laugh. I thought it would maybe start annoying me, but it is comical. And
it's so funny.
Now it's like when he wants to be fed or like he wants to be pet, he'll just come over and do it. And it's just, it's funny. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so magical. And again, you guys grow on 10 acres out here. Do you feel like that's, if you were to become, if you have somebody that wants to become a farmer or buy a farm, do you think 10 acres is a lot to take on? Or do you take on and you just start out small? Like what are your maybe like top couple of tips if you want to get into flower farming?
I think if you're just doing flower farming, you do not need near that much.
Right.
You could do a quarter of an acre and a half an acre. I mean, where our flower field is about an acre.
Okay.
It's about an acre.
It seems a lot bigger. I mean, that place is huge. Yeah. So an acre is a big space.
Yeah, it's about an acre. And so, and we don't even have it like all completely packed in there. We have it where there's still big rows, and we're going to expand that to grow more out there. So I would say 10 acres, you know, if you want to do something like we are doing where you have big animals. I mean, these guys are what take up most of our property.
Right.
Yeah, they you know, rotating them between pastures when grass is growing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we have our properties kind of broken up where we have like back pastures in front. And so we swing them back and forth like as the grass is kind of growing.
Okay. So do you see yourself expanding more than an acre, or do you think you want to stick to that?
The only way we would expand more than an acre is probably if the Daffodahlia came back.
Okay.
And we needed to like mass grow it.
Got it.
It would probably take actually this pasture
over here
to do that.
Okay.
But that would be the only reason that we would do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about dahlias a lot. I have to ask, we ask everybody, can you give me your top 3 favorite?
Dahlias?
Yeah. Like who are like your favorite girls that you just excite you every year?
It's probably cliche, but like the cafes.
Yes.
Honestly, like I use, with doing wedding floral, I use so many of them. Every time a bride sends me an inspiration pic with dahlias in it, a cafe is front and center. I like it. I think that they are unbeatable, just color-wise and stuff. Like they're just so good.
And do you like the cafe au lait and then the royal?
So I don't grow the other ones.
Okay,
I just grow the true one, and then I have some of the cafe minis or Jolene, depending on what you think about that. So I have some of those. So those 2 I would say are probably up there as like my favorite, most used.
Okay.
And then like a Camino Zoe would be up there too. That's like another one that's like I use a lot of. And then I would switch it way to the other side, and I like the really dark dahlias.
Ooh, okay.
So like the black satin and that, I love that blush dark combo. That's kind of my favorite. But then I don't know, like you said 3, but now I'm like going to keep going. You know,
give me 2 more. Give me 2 more.
Like I love ones too, like Caitlin's Joy, and some of those ones
Caitlin's
like that.
Joy.
Yeah, like just like Cornell Bronze. Like I love that one.
I know.
They're so good.
Do you remember when Cornell Bronze was like it was like the it girl. Like everybody wanted Cornell Bronze, and then it kind of like fizzled down. But every time I see it, I'm like, why aren't people getting excited about Cornell bronze anymore?
It's so good. It's like
It's
this
so
muted
good.
orange. It works so good in so many color palettes.
Yep.
You know, like the only time I ever hear something from other florists or like brides or like I want orange, but I don't want like bright orange.
Yeah.
And that one's so perfect.
It does
for
it for
that.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Have you seen Skipley Moonglow? Do you have that one?
Yes, I do. That one's really good.
First year growing it, and I'm like,
that one is really good.
we need all of them.
Yeah.
They're so good.
The other one too that's super underrated that I love is Lark's Ebb or Ebe or whatever, however you say it, whatever you say. I love that one. I love that one, and I love Jabberbox.
Jabberbox. Oh shoot, did I get that one? I don't think I have
they're just ones, they've been around. They're not that exciting. They're not that crazy, like, or for people to like try to get a hold of. They're just ones, I just love them. Like when they bloom, I'm just like, oh, I love that.
Yeah. I love that one too.
Yeah.
Oh, we can talk dahlias all day. Yeah. Like I could.
I know, we're losing daylight.
Yeah, we're losing daylight. So we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that will wrap up today's tour. Kelsey, thank you so much for letting us in and showing us your beautiful tunnel of all of your beautiful dahlias and everything else that you showed us in your animals and just sharing your whole space while it's coming home with us just for the night. Anyways, I will make sure to link everything down below in the description box where you can learn more about Kelsey and their farm. Make sure that you guys follow her on Instagram and social media and subscribe to her newsletter because there's a lot of great things coming from there. And then just, you have your sales coming up. So I am really excited about that. And again, I'll link everything down below so you guys can get excited with me and order your seeds and potentially discover something beautiful in your garden next year.
For sure.
So thank you guys for
coming out.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.